Welcome to another episode of Entercos IT Tech Talks presented by Tech Knowledge Worldwide. We're continuing our celebration of women in business and tech as part of Women's Appreciation Month, where each week we have a new guest on that's a champion in the field of business and technology. Ray, how are we doing tonight? I hear this is a very special guest that you brought on tonight.
This is the most special of guests that I've had on. I mean, we've had some stupendous people on in the last few weeks, but Judy, by far, we love you. Welcome, Judy. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here, Ray.
I appreciate that. So Brandon.
Before we get going, let's talk about what's going on in the community.
Yeah, let's do that. What's going on in the community? Tell me. It's like I have no idea.
No, things are going well. I mean, we're getting some nice engagement. We're working on possibly some equipment and vendor presentations coming up here in the near future. We're finishing up Women's Appreciation Month, so that's exciting. We have some new vendors that are coming into the group, thanks to Scott from Hammond Manufacturing, a nice little rack manufacturer. And one thing I want to point out about Hammond, because this actually came up the other day in the group, all Hammond Manufacturing racks are actually built in North America.
Yeah, about that.
No one knew that until a couple days ago when Scott pointed that out.
Yeah, it's a good thing. We like to support America. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So we got Zach looking into some of the racks right now. He was asking about competing manufacturer, and I said, well, why don't you check out Hammond? I mean, he's in the group. Let's take a look at him. And I know another one of our community members is a big fan of theirs and has used their racks for a while, being that he's Canadian, Hammond's Canadian, so they're supporting each other on that one.
I'm happy to support our friends to the north.
So, yeah, perfect. I mean, everything's going great. I mean, you've been a little busy this week, so you haven't been too active in there. I mean, you've been all over the place, mounting TVs, pulling wire, laughing at electricians that don't know where to mount outlets.
Did you see that? I mean,
yeah.
It was very clearly in the plan. So there were actually 2 outlets mounted on the wall at this location. So, Judy, a lot of times we'll go in, especially in a commercial space, to mount a TV or to do something. But since I'm not a licensed electrician, we have electricians go out, they read a plan, and they put outlets where we tell them to put them. This guy was, what do you say, Brandon, about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet off?
Yeah, it was bad.
So, my install looks great, but, the power plug is coming out of the bottom of the TV and just dangles about 2 feet before it plugs into the wall. So the electrician is going to come back to fix that, in the next week or two, hopefully. And if not, my TV looks good. It's straight. So,
I mean, you did such a good job. You cleaned up all the wires. I saw the pictures of how you mounted everything. And then you see just this drip loop power cable going to the outlet.
Yep. And that's what it is. It's a drip loop. And unfortunately for me, like, it doesn't matter how great of a job we did. Looking at that, it's just like, it looks like crap to me. It just is what it is. Aww. But yeah, it's been a busy week. I've taken on a lot more on-site install jobs for our clients. I brought on a technician, actually 2. So we're doing more on-site work as opposed to just doing the 90% consulting that we were doing, which is fun. It's good to have those guys on board with us. But yeah, we're hustling. We're moving. What about you, man? What are you up to?
Oh gosh,
that good.
Everything. Like we've talked about a few times, the new Federal Trade Commission safeguards is taking a lot of my time. Basically, anybody that does anything financial, whether it be the dealerships with financing, my CPA firms, there have new wonderful safeguards that we have to worry about. So we've been diving into all that. And that's a lot to bite off. And I work, as I've mentioned a few times, I work for the local dealers association. So they're actually going to be start recommending me to some of the other dealerships in town, which is a little nerve-wracking because the dealers that they're recommending me to, I thought had internal IT people. We're talking about like 5-6 rooftop dealerships. So when I say a rooftop, I mean 5 or 6 different manufacturers that they support. So that's a decent amount of employees and computers that they have, and you think that they would have internal IT, but nope, they just run and gun. So got to come in and fix all that and clean all that up because this is the first time I've ever seen dealers scared about a compliance that comes down. Usually they ignore it and say, we'll figure it out later. They are utterly terrified of this, which is a good thing. I mean, we see it in our MSP groups. this year, next year, and the year after is going to be the years of compliance. I feel like the government's done. Everybody's done. There's going to be hardcore compliance. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, whether it be car dealerships or just a mom and pop shop. Compliance is coming, and we're not just talking about PCI compliance.
No, and Judy, we talk about that all the time on our chamber chats every Friday, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, it's just about Biden and the cyber attacks and what's coming. Is that what this is about? That's good stuff then.
Yeah, so a lot of car dealerships that Brandon works for and dealerships across the country, as well as other businesses, are finally starting to take compliance and security like more to heart. Like they're actually starting to pay attention. We, as IT companies and MSPs have been telling people for years. Chad from Gannon is telling us every week on these calls, like, hey, these attacks are coming. You got to protect yourself. This is what you got to do. And now you're seeing, big car dealerships and other businesses that are actually taking our advice and heeding that advice, which is great. We all knew it was coming. It's just it's a big expense, Brandon. What do you think, just from a ballpark? And this is the last thing I'll ask before we start talking with Judy. Yeah. Like, what do you think ballpark a dealership is going to spend to fix their dealerships and get compliant?
It depends. I mean, rough ballpark, I'm thinking anywhere from, depending on the size, let's say a 50 to 60 person dealership, I'm figuring $30,000 to $60,000 minimum.
Wow.
That's just the upfront cost, and then there's the monthly managed services, because you walk into a lot of these places and they're still running ancient computers. I mean, I was starting to onboard one today, and I looked behind me. This is a dealership that we renovated about 6.5 years ago, and I put in a handful of computers then because they had obviously ancient machines then, and we put in a Core 2 Duo, just a refurb machine we had laying around, Core 2 Duo, Windows 7. I turn around today, it's still there, and that's the title clerk's computer, which I said to him, I go, why is this here? This needs to go bye-bye. This is the title clerk's computer. This is the person that is, other than F&I, this is the person dealing with all of your personal information. This should not be here. And the person that I am handling IT with that did their IT, he's pretty knowledgeable, and he's pretty good with security. So the fact that he had that sitting there, I'm terrified what I'm going to find when I walk into other dealerships. I haven't taken over a new one in a few years, and I can tell you when I took over all the ones that I have now, they were huge messes. But I'm scared to see what these like 6-7 rooftop dealerships are going to look like when I take them over. It's going to be interesting.
So I have a question for you. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
The tables have turned, Brandon. Run, run.
So I'm going to be at a hotel this weekend, and I would like to go online. I used to have a 4G. I don't have that anymore. How can I be secure?
So best bet, and this is what I've been telling all of my customers lately, is if you're not at home, if you're at a hotel, if you're at a conference, if you're at a client's house, connect to the VPN that we have with them that connects back to our office, because you're tunneling all of your traffic through our firewall, and all your traffic is encrypted. So if there was ever what they call a man-in-the-middle attack, where somebody's rebroadcasting the Wi-Fi to sniff what you're doing, if you're using a VPN, that's going to encrypt all your traffic. So there's services out there like TunnelBear, Surfshark, different services like that allow you to have a VPN on your machine that just connects to a service somewhere in the United States that's going to encrypt your traffic from your machine to wherever that VPN server is. So that's going to ensure that your traffic is encrypted and anybody that's on that network can't see what you're doing.
Ray, you'll have that by tomorrow.
I can get you that information, Judy. But even without that program, the other, and this is the simplest piece of information, if you're going to connect, good God, the words aren't working yet. If you're going to connect to a guest Wi-Fi network, whether in a hotel, a coffee shop, whatever it may have you, just make sure that you're not doing anything that could compromise your identity. So don't do any online banking, right. Don't do your taxes, don't do things like that on public Wi-Fi. Just make sure, checking your email is fine, doing other things like that, browsing the web, that's fine. all the basic things you're fine with, but try not to do anything that could compromise your personal
Okay.
data
Well, that's
without
fair.
that service.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely give you recommendations on some VPN services. Nord has a good free one.
Yep.
So I'll give you some recommendations. I'll shoot you some links.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. That was a good question. And look at that. Technology. Technology. So without further ado, I want to introduce Judy Doherty to the last of our series of Women Appreciation Month. So Judy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. So, Judy, I'm going to let you talk about yourself, but I'm going to talk about you first because I absolutely love and adore you. So, my connection to Judy is with the Greater BucksMont Chamber of Commerce. I am fortunate enough to sit on the board with Judy and have probably for about 3 or 4 years now, maybe longer at this point. I don't know. Time goes by so fast anymore. Judy is the executive director of the Greater BucksMont Chamber of Commerce and has done so much good in our community, and I couldn't possibly thank you enough. But we call Judy very lovingly our den mother, and Brandon can attest to that because during our charity projects and all of our other events that we have going on, Judy is the main point for literally everything. She makes sure we're always well taken care of. She's always supporting us. She may not be in the ceiling with us, but she was definitely on site with us.
Oh yeah.
Definitely running a vacuum, which was awesome. Even though I know that was supposed to be a secret, but Michael knows. But we absolutely love you, Judy, and you are definitely the motherly figure in our chamber. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
Well, there's nothing else I can add to this. This is as good as it gets. So
did I finally make you speechless for a change? Did that work? That was great.
that worked.
All right. So, Brandon, the one thing you don't know is on our weekly chamber chats that we're going to get into. So every Friday we have a chamber chat, which Judy organized, and we're gonna talk about that because it's huge for our community. Judy has been my salesperson every week because I end up talking about everybody else's businesses during these chamber chats, and Judy's like, "That's great, but what the hell do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Ray. I own this IT company. If you guys don't know me by now, it doesn't matter." So, but no. So let's dive into the questions, Judy. You ready?
Sure.
You excited?
Yeah.
All right, let's have some fun.
Not used to talking about myself, but I'll do the best I can for you.
Well, what you don't fill in, I will, so it'll be fine.
Thank you.
All right, so tell us about who you are, where are you from, what do you do for fun?
Wow. Well, I'm not going to tell you what I do for fun, but I'll tell you who I am. I am, I guess the best way to describe me is a 76-year-old woman,
I don't believe you.
grandmother, great-grandmother, and the luckiest woman alive because at my age, I have a career that I can give back to our community. And for me, having been in sales most of my life and having really hardcore positions, for me to be able to take the knowledge that I have and share it with you guys and make it about our chamber and our members, that's really what gets me up in the morning. So, I mean, basically, that's who I am. I'm just a hardworking woman that enjoys what she's doing, enjoys life, loves my family, love my husband, love my wine, love to go out to dinner, and just try to make the most of every day.
I love it. I love it. So you had mentioned that you were in sales before joining the Greater BucksMont Chamber of Commerce. So tell us a little bit about that and the roles that you played in those.
Okay, well, I had some interesting careers. First of all, I kind of got married at 18 because I knew everything. And I could actually even give up a scholarship that I was being awarded at graduation because I found the perfect man for 7 years and then divorced. But was not Mikey. It was not Mikey. So I was married very young and had a child relatively young. My son is 52, my baby. So that's how I started out in life. So I didn't really have an opportunity to have a college education. And one of the things I always wanted, being a single mom, because I was divorced when Gary was a year and was on my own for 18 years without any support from anybody. So it was an interesting period in my life and a wonderful growth period. So I always wished that I had had an opportunity to go to college, but I never had some of the passion of women that I work with now that have been able to be single moms and go to school and do all that kind of stuff. I was just trying to get through day by day. So my first big career was I managed a law firm, but that law firm happened to be involved with real estate only. So we started a real estate construction company at the same time. So we were housed together and we did all the legal work, plus we did all the construction. And we did some fabulous projects in Bucks County. Ray will know this, the village at Newtown, the hospital in Langhorne, the hotel in Langhorne, some really big projects. So during that time, I got my real estate license. So I was able to lease and or sell any of the residential properties that we did. I could sell those and lease some of the commercial spots. So that was a 17-year career. During that time, I started my own business. And I became probably the most entrepreneurial time of my life. And I went out to California and I was trained in this thing called color consulting, which you guys probably never heard of because you're way too young. But there was a time when women were first getting involved in business and they needed to know how to put themselves together, how to really make the most of their wardrobe. So that's what I trained in. And I had a business where I had my own line of makeup that I put together. I had a clothing line, and that was like a really fun thing. So I had the yin and the yang. I had it all going on. And then I did that for several years. And when I decided that it was time to leave the law firm and the construction company, I ended up, due to a friendship, landing at a printing company. But the printing company was not just your basic pretty commercial stuff, it was called financial print. So all of those crazy legal documents that you get every time you open up anything, if you buy a stock, you get an annual report, you get your prospectuses, everything that you get and throw out, that's what I printed. So that was a big 17-year career.
And Judy, roughly about how old were you when you were running this organization?
The chamber?
No, not the chamber.
Oh, printing?
The printing. Well, the printing and when you were out in California.
Oh, okay, my son was 13, so you do the math.
Oh, I can't do math.
It was 24
It's never gonna
when
happen.
he was born. 24 and 13 is what, 37? So I was 37. How about that? That's pretty good, Ray.
I was good.
That was good. So
Okay, we can end it here. Thanks for coming out tonight, everybody.
So that's how it happened. And then what happened was, you guys remember around, oh, this is my husband's phone. I'm so sorry. Michael?
This is what makes these podcasts fun, is random
I'm
phones
not
ringing in
even
the
sure
middle
how
of
to
them.
turn his phone off. He has
Throw
this
it.
weird phone. All right, it'll stop eventually, so just ignore it. So what happened was, after doing this career for 17 years as a printer, and it was really high-end stuff. I mean, you're dealing with CFOs and CEOs. It's all high-end. Like a job, I would sell it, would be $100,000 easy. So that kind of gives you an idea. So what happened was, the company just kept getting sold and sold and sold. And when you're a salesperson, at this time I was a vice president of sales, and I was running about $5 million worth of business. But what happens is I'm working with clients like ING and Capital One and Penn Mutual. So these sales cycles, till you get these guys, it can take you 3 or 4 years till you build up a relationship. So then these guys buy you, and if they had a salesperson that said hello to your client, then I had a partner in my pocket. So it got a little crazy. I was in my late 60s. And my husband said, why don't you just give it a break? So I was that person, Ray, you'll love this, that was so disgusted with the last company, public company that bought us. I was that person that typed an email to the entire company, hit send, and walked out. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, I mean, that was a tough time. They were terrible to the people at my company. They were just not nice, and I really had a hard time with that. For me, it's all about how you treat people and valuing and respecting people, and that didn't happen. But I guess that's corporate America sometimes. I don't know.
No, it definitely is. And I can tell you, and I'm sure Brandon can tell you, before I decided to go full-time consulting for the 20th time in my life, I was working for companies that just kept getting bought and sold and bought and sold. And I just got tired of it because I was normally last man standing because I was in IT. IT's almost always the last to go because we have to help fire everybody else at the end of the day. I got tired of watching my friends lose their jobs. I just got tired of it. And so I decided I'm going back to consulting, and I've been here ever since. I kicked myself for not staying with it when I was younger.
When I first met you, Ray, and I make it a point, as you know, to really know my members. And you and I had a conversation, and I said, what made you go out on your own like this? That was pretty gutsy. And you said to me, I was tired of making money for everybody else.
Yep.
And
you do remember that.
I do remember that. It was, I thought, God, I like this guy. I like the way he thinks.
Yep.
So that was an interesting moment that we shared that I'll always remember.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And, my first conversation with you, I can tell you exactly where I was. I was on the road on the way to a senior living company that I work at, where actually we all met Kim through. That you're going to have lunch with her in a week or two.
Yep.
And I just remember having that conversation with you and saying, one of the biggest reasons that I want to join the chamber is to be able to find a way to give back to the community. And you've given that to me in spades, so thank you. And I'm glad we connected. So that was awesome.
Yeah,
why
it's
don't
a
you
blessing
tell?
for both of us.
Yeah. So why don't you tell this group, what very quickly what the Greater BucksMont Chamber of Commerce is? I mean, everybody's got a local chamber, but tell us what our chamber is and what it means to you.
Okay, well, our chamber, let's see, the best way to describe it when I tell people about it, I say, there's two really big chambers on either side of us. But you know what we are? We're the cream in the Oreo cookie. So we take care of all these midsections, and we're not huge, but we're big enough for the members to make an impact, and we're also small enough for the members to make an impact. So that's the kind of thing that makes it unique. We have about 300 members, where some of these other chambers, they could have 1,000 or 2,000, and that's great for them, but that's just not who we are. Our chamber is about really hardworking people that really want to help and support each other. We have amazing people like Ray. When he said that he wanted to give back. No, so we made Ray a board member, and we gave him the title of community outreach. And this guy has done more for our community than anybody I've ever seen. We've done 2 projects together locally, and I know he's done many, many more. But his ability to get people to work together, to feel a sense of commitment to a project and a sense of joy while they're working the project is really unique. And Ray has made a huge difference, and Brandon was part of these projects as well, in two very, very important places within our community. One is a senior activity center that my husband is a busy guy.
So I'll tell you a funny story, and we can jump back to it while that phone rings. So every one of our podcasts with the women this past month, there's either been a barking dog,
A baby.
a child or two, a baby or two,
And
dog
I have
and a
my
husband.
husband's cell phone.
Yep, and a dog, a dog and or a husband trying to come through the office door while we were recording. So this has been perfect.
Oh,
you have
good.
the cell
Well, I'm so
phone.
glad.
No, this is great. No, this is perfect.
So the Senior Wilson Activity Center, they serve how many people a week? I mean, thousands.
It's
In the
thousands.
community. It is just unbelievable what goes on in this activity center, and it is it's the biggest in our community, in our county, probably Tri-County, and it really serves the underserved senior world. And what these guys did in this project was beyond belief. First of all, I never saw so many people from so many places come in to support this. So that's what these guys do. They don't charge the people a penny. They raise every dollar. They get every piece of equipment donated. The installation, I've never seen so many wires in my entire life, or have seen anybody get up on a ladder like Ray. You have to do a video on that one day. Your ladder
My ladder technique.
Yeah.
technique is is a thing to behold.
It is definitely not OSHA approved, but I know Mike from Vertical Cable absolutely has video of me going up and down the ladder the way I was doing it.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And the other project was a place called Craven Hall. And Craven Hall is really about the steamboat. Right, Ray? I mean, it's really about the first steamboat.
Yep. John Fitch was the inventor of the
John
steamboat.
Fitch.
Yep.
And it is a place where all of the schools bring their students because it's that historical a site. But guess what? They had no place to put these students. They had no place to show them anything and really do a demo of what, a presentation for them. Well, that's where these guys came in. They built, you almost built that whole room, Ray, and then all the equipment that went in it. Truthfully, it really takes your breath away. So it's really an honor for me to be involved in any way and support what you guys do. So kudos to you for your
thank you.
community outreach. Yeah, you are all about giving back. That is for sure.
And we greatly appreciate that. But this interview has nothing to do with us, right? Like, this is all about you.
Okay. Well,
don't get me wrong.
Me.
I'm going to take that soundbite. Don't get me wrong. We're going to use that. So thank you. But no, this is about you and what you've done for our community. So,
Well, one
thank
of
you.
the great things that we have done is when I took over the chamber about 6 years ago, the first thing I did was I started a women's group. And it is called Women to Women. And we came up with our mission. And guess what our mission is? What did I care about? Scholarships for single working moms. So that is our mission. We do scholarships for single working moms at Bucks County Community College. We get scholarship applications that can absolutely tear your heart out. These are women who have been usually sexually abused, have 2 or 3 children, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and are trying to make a better life for their children, and they are back in school. Most of them, it's interesting, get involved in the nursing community. They have so much that they want to give back to people and be helpful to people. And we have the honor of fundraising so we can provide some scholarships for these fabulous ladies. So for me, out of all the things we do at the Chamber, that is the most rewarding for me as a mom, human being. Yeah. So that's, sorry, Brandon.
No,
Go ahead, Brandon.
That's great. I love that. I mean, that's the community that my wife serves right now is exactly that. She's a social worker, and she works at an OB clinic in the middle of the city, and that's really the community that she serves right now, and she's actually stepping out on her own. She's going to be starting her own counseling business to try to help the community out a little bit better than what she's able to offer right now. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I'm about to is giving back and helping. I mean, I can look across my basement here, and she has basically a donation floor of goods that she's got from the community to use at her OB clinic because she's in the inner city. So she's working with 13, 12-year-olds, 14-year-olds that don't have money, don't have any support, don't have anything. So she has baby clothes everywhere, hygiene products, everything. So, I mean, that's exactly what we're all about up here, too.
That's awesome.
You know, we have so many nonprofits that are in our chamber, and like Ray is talking about our little Friday chamber chats, and there's so much negativity in this world that we all know about, but you talk to these people that do nothing, like your wife, who are trying to support the underserved, and it's so rewarding because you realize that there's so much more good out there that just isn't exploited like the negativity. So that's one of the positive things. And there's a place we can all, if we all do just a little something, we can make this a much better world. So kudos to your wife, really.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. I wish her luck on her own. I'm sure she'll do great.
Well, Brandon, we're going to connect Judy and your wife because I'm sure they can help each other. And Judy is a wealth of knowledge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
You're
I
in
want to
New
stay.
York?
Yeah, Western
ahead.
New York. I'm up in Rochester.
Okay.
Hey, while we're talking about Rochester, New York, Brandon, why don't you tell her what your favorite place on earth is?
Definitely not Niagara Falls.
There it is.
No good.
so-
I've
No,
never
I-
been there.
The problem is my whole mother's side of the family is Canadian, so we literally drove past it like every other weekend since I was a baby. So it's just
Okay.
you're at that point where you just seen the thing so many times. You're just like, okay, it's water, cool, awesome, this is great. And the American side is just nowhere like it used to be. It's run down. It's sad what's happened to it. And my sister actually used to serve that community. She was working for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and that was the community that she was doing outreach in because it's just gone way downhill. I mean, it was the place to be in the 50s, 60s, 70s. My grandfather actually ran the New York State Park there. Like, that's where he was
Oh, wow.
based out of, and it was a big deal. And then the 80s hit, and it just went downhill. And you look across the water, you look across the river, and you see the Canadian side, and I mean, that it's happening over there. That's where all the fun is with Clifton Hill and the casinos, and you have every big brand you can think of. I mean, there's a giant Hershey's store that you can see from across the river, and the Canadian side's where you got to be, and it's sad what happened to the American side of it.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
That's such a historic place, too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's just that neighborhood has just got so run down and a lot of poverty in specific in Niagara County, and it's sad to see what happened to that area.
It's sad to see what happened to so many areas. I hope we can start rebuilding. But then, you look at what other people are living through, and you just have to be so thankful.
Yeah.
But don't let me start on that.
No, not today. Let's get back to the women to women, because that's important, especially in honor of what this month is supposed to be. So how do you fundraise? Like, how are you raising money in the chamber for this women to women group? What kind of events are you doing?
Okay, well, we've had some interesting events. The first
I would
2
agree.
years, the first 2 years, we did, a place called Art in the Pod, and we just did painting. You know how you do the painting and you have your own little party there. And that was great for a couple years because we only had about 30 or 40 people that could come. But now we have like 70 or 80 people to come, so we had to figure out a whole other venue. And last year, we didn't do it for 1 year because of COVID, obviously, but last year we had a great event. We have a member who's a very good friend of Ray's, and Ray actually introduced me to them, Moss Mill Brewing Company.
Brandon knows Moss Mill.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, you know it. And
I took the guys there. I had to.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, it's a great spot. And they have how do you explain it? Just an outdoor and now indoor as well venue. And you can do all kinds of fun things there. They have bingo, they have cornhole, they have a lot of good food and a lot of good drinks, and it's just a great spot. So they kindly donated their space to us, and we got food donated, and we got bingo donated, and by our caller Ray, who called it for us, and we just had a beautiful night, about lots of raffles that Ray helps us get, and that's how we do it. We don't raise big bucks, but if we can make 5,000, that can help us give a couple scholarships, and that's what we're about. This year we're going to have another bingo, but at a different venue, and you just try whatever you can. Whatever, who's ever willing to help you and donate to you. That's how we do it.
So this year, what is the anticipation? How many scholarships, and what is the value of those scholarships to the recipient?
They're $1,000 scholarships, and at a community college, $1,000 can get them a semester, basically.
That's great.
So here's like a wonderful story about the scholarships. We gave our first scholarship out, and we do a scholarship luncheon where we give out all the scholarships. We also do high school students. That's a whole different deal. But the first scholarship we gave, we invited the winner to come to the scholarship award dinner. Now, when we interview kids for high school, we can get to see them. But we don't get to see the people from the women to women. They're working moms. We can't take their time. So everything is really just based on their applications. So the community college has a luncheon where they honor a lot of the recipients. So we gave our first scholarship, keep that in mind, and this woman came to the event who won it, and she was, just kind of dressed in jeans, very basic, pretty woman, but plain Jane, like in her 40-ish kind of deal, and nobody that you would, say, oh my God, look at that lady, just a great woman who was working her tail off. So we got a chance to talk to her for a few minutes, and then that was it. Well, next year we went to this scholarship tea that was given by the community college, and there was a woman who spoke. And she said that she had been a past recipient, and she told her story, and I'm thinking, my God, this woman is just fantastic. So I went up to the woman from the community college who was my contact. I said, my God, it makes your heart feel so good. This lady is fabulous. And she said, Judy, don't you know who that is? I said, no. She said, that's the one you gave the scholarship to last year. When I tell you life-changing, because somebody believed in them. And if somebody believes in you when you don't have a whole lot of support, that can take you to the end, to such heights. And this woman was almost a nurse, and she was fabulous, and her family was there, and it was just wonderful to see. So that just kind of pushes you on to do more and more. So we try to give 2 a year. And if we can do more, we can do more. Like last year, we had a really interesting thing. If you want to take a minute to hear about it, tell you a little bit about the women in our group. So we do these, everybody gets the scholarship applications, they read them, they send back the scores, we tally them. Well, sometimes there's ties and who's going to be the best. So we'll have a meeting and say, okay, let's pick 1 or 2. Let's see what we're going to do here. Well, last year, we had only raised enough money for 1 scholarship. So we had 2 people that were tie. So we were going to have a meeting to say who should do it, who's going to win. Before the meeting, I got an email from one of the members of the scholarship committee, a woman, and said, Judy, don't tell anybody about this, but whoever doesn't win, I would like to give them a donation of $250. Okay. I said, I'd love to share it. She said, no, don't tell anybody. I want it to be anonymous. Okay. So we're having our Zoom event, and while we're discussing these scholarships and who should win, she raises her hand and she said, you know, Judy, I know I said that I don't want anybody to know about the $250. She said, but I really want to give whoever loses $500. She said, I want to up it to $500. Then one of the other ladies said to me during the meeting, she said, Judy, my aunt just died, and she left me some money. I would like to donate the other $500 in her honor, memory. So there you go. That's the people in our chamber. You know, hardworking people giving everything they have to help other people. That's who we are. And, you know, you get that, Ray, because you interact with them. So you kind of know who, and you know the women I'm talking about.
I know exactly who it is. Yep.
Yeah. So.
No, and we are fortunate. And, you know, they're the kind of stories that, you know, I want our community to know about. Just the amazing, I'm going to say women, but amazing people in our community that are helping other people do amazing things. And you're right. You said something that kind of struck with me. You know, you give $1,000 to somebody who is destitute, it means the world to them. You show them support, it means the world to them. And they take that $1,000 and that little bit of support and they take it to the sky. Whereas you could hand somebody that has so much, the same $1,000, the same support, it's not going to mean nearly as much to them. So I mean, I think that's important.
I do too. I wish we had a ton of more money, but you know, everybody's going through tough times right now in business. You know, we've certainly seen it with our members. We don't have a lot of big business. We're small business. And it's been rough. So it's just been rough for a lot of people. And I'm just happy that we're able to continue to grow and provide a safe haven and a place to educate at no charge and help people make connections and just do business with your friends. You know, really, I'm old school enough to realize that this is what it's about. This is what it's about. You know, technology is fantastic, and we can't live without it. But nothing beats this, even though this is on a technology platform. But
It's okay. We get the point. We get
Yeah.
the point.
yeah,
And I agree with you. Face to face is still the way to go. And I think Amber, who was our first interview in the series, said that. And she goes, and Amber is, I won't give her away her age, but she's very young, but a very old soul. And what she said was, it's very important to me to be able to sit face to face with a person. She goes, I can do a million Zooms, but she goes, I firmly believe in sitting across the room, looking directly into somebody's eyes and talking to them. And that to me speaks leaps and bounds about her and how she does things.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that too. I mean, I just have to know my members. I don't want to just take your money and do nothing for you. I want to know who you are. I want to know what makes you tick and how I can help you and how I can connect you. That's to me what this chamber is about. Creating
I gotta tell you,
relationships.
you are the best in the business on that. It's amazing just to watch you on our chamber chats and our in-person meetings that we have. Like Judy has a sign-up sheet, Brandon, where it's at everybody's table, because some networking can be awkward, right? I personally can't stand networking events. I don't like them because I hate the whole give me your 5-second elevator pitch, and while you're giving them the 5-second elevator pitch, somebody's literally walking behind you and handing them a business card. Like, I can't stand that stuff. Whereas I love what we do, where we do this open forum every Friday, and we're going to talk about that. But Judy has also made it so she's got this sign-in sheet at our in-person meetings where you can actually write down, hey, I met this person, or hey, I want to know this person, get me their information. And Judy takes that and just passes that information on. So I think that's a huge value to our members.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I literally spend half of my day connecting people, creating, having been in sales, I know the difference between a cold call and a warm lead. And I want people to have warm connections, and that kind of works for them. Yeah.
So we're going to jump in here in some quick fire questions. Well, are you ready?
Sure.
So first thing that comes to the top of your head. So what is your favorite website?
Oh boy. I guess I should not be politically worried about being. I do love Amazon. I got to tell you.
So do I.
I do love Amazon.
It's okay.
But my
Fair
second would be my bank.
Okay.
Because I think there's nothing better than online banking. That's just how I feel.
So we'll see if Judy passes the test. So what online banking do you use?
Oh, I can't tell you that.
There you go. We've taught her well. Good job, Judy. Okay. So your favorite social platform?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
For me, LinkedIn.
I agree. Your favorite food?
Pizza.
Okay.
Ice cream.
I mean, that works for me. Actually,
Yeah.
somebody's
Or
was
the
ice cream.
Pablo.
It was Tara last week. Her favorite was ice cream, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
No,
believe it
hers
was.
French
Sick.
fries.
my girl.
Oh, French fries.
And I think ice cream too.
And then we went into ice cream. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So your favorite beverage? It can be alcoholic, non-alcoholic. What's your favorite go-to?
Red wine.
Red wine.
Red wine.
Okay. Okay. Favorite historical figure? Or a historical figure that you admire?
I'm going to go with the female because this is women. And I think I'm going to go with Anne Frank.
Okay. I mean, there's a very obvious answer to that, but why Anne Frank?
I guess I'm thinking about what other people are going through in Ukraine and thinking about these stories of these kids that are bunkered down in ridiculous potato fields, and it's just gut-wrenching. And then you think about what this child went through and how she had the strength and found joy to be able to write every day. And then her father to find this diary and publish it. It's kind of like an overwhelming story. Yeah.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So if you could have lunch with any business person today, who would that be? And maybe you've already done this, but like, who would you love to sit and just pick their brain?
Well, outside of you.
Yes, somebody finally said me without provoking. Oh man, whew. I throw that one up every week, and nobody but you has taken the bait. So thank you.
Oh, it's terrible. You know who I'm going to go with? How about Sir Richard Branson?
I mean, you could be in outer space if you had lunch with him.
Right.
He would take you in a minute. He'd love it.
Yeah. That would be, what hasn't this man done? I mean, he parties with the Stones. He does it all. And he can go into space and has his own airlines. I mean, and you know that he was diagnosed with ADHD and with dyslexia. And they told him, his teacher used to tell him, you're either going to end up in prison or you're going to be a millionaire. And he became a billionaire. So I think he would be fascinating. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. No, I mean, Brandon, did you know I had no idea I had ADHD,
No.
ADHD or dyslexia?
Easy for you to say. Yeah.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'll have to check into that. I had no idea.
Yep. He's fascinating. I think he's a fascinating guy.
So, favorite place in the world that you've traveled? I know you've traveled quite a bit, but what is your absolute favorite place that you've been to?
I may have to say Venice, Italy.
Okay. Is it the red wine?
We traveled there with a woman who grew up there.
Okay.
So we really had the opportunity to live it rather than just visit it. So,
Oh, that's cool.
and Venice is, I mean, it's crazy that you don't drive a car, that everything is in a boat. I mean, I've never experienced anything like that. So it's kind of cool. And the language is
awesome.
beautiful. And yeah, it's kind of
That's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
I like it. You probably can't beat the food either.
The
a
food was
guess.
fabulous.
Yeah.
It was fabulous. Yeah.
All right, and the last one. This is important. And
Uh-oh.
if you don't answer the question the right way, I'm going to
The
end
whole
the
thing
call
is
and we're not
off.
going to post it. That's it. Who's winning the Final Four?
Nova.
There you go. Good
Go
job.
Wildcats. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It's great. We actually saw them beat in 18. We saw them beat North Carolina.
Okay.
So hopefully, same thing will happen with not North Carolina, but whoever is
No.
they're playing. Yep.
That's great.
Yeah, kind
So-
of excited about that.
So my buddy Ed, that you and Michael have both met, you guys, you know my buddy Ed. He is from Villanova, and when they won a couple years back, he is very superstitious. So he had watched the games before at my house at one spot on my couch, and he's so suspicious. He said to me, "I'm coming to your house for the rest of the series, and I'm sitting exactly in that place." With exactly the same shoes, exactly like everything. He's like, I'm sitting,
It's
the butt
hysterical.
imprint is mine. And they ended up winning. I mean, it was cool.
Well,
So,
it's kind of like with Duke, you almost want to see him win it too, just because of. But
Brandon
of
doesn't.
course, we want Nova, but that's a nice story.
Brandon, what's going on in your brain, buddy?
It's
A lot of people don't like him, though, do they?
he has a bit of a reputation.
Does he?
Oh yeah.
See,
yeah.
I don't know that part of him.
There's stories of him like yelling at the student section, yelling at the other team's players. Just his persona in the press is different than the persona he has when he's actually on the court.
Oh, well, you've made it real easy for me not to have any thoughts about that. I'm just really looking forward to a Nova win.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
that'd be great.
All right, so we don't have a ton more time, but we're going to get back into a couple of the more serious questions. You ready?
I think
Shifting
so.
gears back, putting our thinking hats back on here. So I consider you to be a huge success in all that you've done, and you are so modest that you will never ever admit to that. But every person in our chamber, and I'm even sure Brandon, after talking to you for the last hour, would agree you're a very successful woman in your own right.
Wow.
So, how does that feel to know that everything that you've done, everything that you've grown, and everything that is who you are, how does that make you feel to know that you can impart all of that wisdom onto someone else?
Old. No, I mean, it's very humbling when I hear something like that because I really don't think of myself like that at all. I just think that I'm lucky and I've had some great opportunities that I've been able to make the most of. And I guess, I look at our family, 5 kids, 10 grandkids, 3 greats, 2 more greats coming, that I look at their success and the human beings that they are. And that kind of is where most of my joy really comes from. So I'm honored that you think I'm a success in business, and that's really important. And it's important to me because otherwise I would be retired. But you know, I'll be retired when they close the box. Or when I feel I have nothing else to contribute. But right now I feel I still have stuff to help, to give, and I want to put my energy there, and it's just a really good feeling for me. So I guess if that is a measure of success, then I will humbly say thank you.
She's taking it for a change. I love it. I love it. So, you had said to me that you didn't think this was a good question for you, but I firmly believe it is. So, where do you see technology and how we communicate going in the future? And the reason why I still want to ask you this question is because of what you did for our chamber, building the community that you really built every Friday with our Friday chats. So, Brandon, every Friday we have our chamber chat. And I remember in the very beginning, I was very hesitant to get on because it's Zoom, right? In the very beginning, when the pandemic hit, I'm like, Judy, I love you. I want no parts of this. The last thing in the world I want to do is see a naked person running across the screen. I don't want to be hacked. I can't be a part of that. And I missed out the first few weeks. And I actually kicked myself in the foot. But now, you get on these calls every week and you see we've got 10 people, 20 people, 15 people, 30 people, and Judy has orchestrated all of it. So every Friday for an hour at 11 a.m., we all get together, and nobody is really talking about their business per se. They're really talking about life. Like, I've gotten to know the members of our chamber better in these chamber chats that we have every Friday than I think I maybe would have had if we weren't doing it, or if we were just doing the in-person meetings. So kudos to you for organizing that, for sticking through that, for being, honestly, other chambers are looking at our chamber to do that same thing and haven't been able to replicate it. So I think
I didn't really have a choice because one of our really young board members, Dave, called me up when the pandemic hit, and he said, Judy, we have to make a television station out of our chamber. Okay, Dave. And how do I do that? He said, well, we have to start Zoom. I said, I think my granddaughter's going to school on that, but I had no idea. So I was very lucky that I had Dave, Ray, and one other guy, Alan, who came in and said, this is how you get it done. So we started doing these weekly, and everybody on the board, nobody thought it was a great idea, but you know what? You guys needed a safe haven. You needed a place to come to to say, hey, what's working for you? How do we get through this pandemic? What the hell is this PPP and PPE? And, nobody knew anything. So we had our members who had expertise in whatever come and teach everybody. And, we did educational Zooms once a week. We started this weekly chat every Friday that Ray's talking about. And, now we're 2 years into this. And I say to them, guys, do you still want to do this every Friday? Yes. Okay. The pandemic, we're going to be able to see each other more, but no, we have to, Judy, we have to. And it's like everybody gets a chance to sit next to everybody. Like you're at a luncheon, you sit next to one person or two person, and you're next to everybody. And it's just about helping and supporting. And it's been a really good thing. I think it's been a really good thing for our members. And I know, Ray, besides the relationship, you've gotten a ton of business out of it as well, it seems.
I've gotten quite a bit of business from it.
Yeah. So.
And honestly, I believe more so than some of the in-persons that we do. Because, and maybe that's my own thing, like I said in the beginning of this, I don't love that networking aspect of just walking up to somebody and saying, hey, I'm Ray, here's my business card, this is what I do.
Horrible.
Because to me it's so impersonal. I do love our golf outings, I do love our luncheons and things like that, where you have a chance to really talk to people, right? I love those. But like networking events where you're kind of even at the bars, we all know I love a bar. Those to me are really tough to break through and communicate. For me, that could be my personality. I don't know, but I much rather prefer what we're doing in our chamber.
Oh, good.
Meeting weekly, and our live events. But kudos to you. So I think without what you did with technology for our chamber, we would nowhere near be where we're at today. So.
Well, interestingly enough, we gained more members during the pandemic than at any other time. Because, it's like I told people, some of these big chambers, they're like cruise ships, and it takes forever to get them moving. I'm on jet skis. I'm a one-man band. So if I think we should do something, we do it. And I don't need a whole lot of bureaucratic interference. I would prefer not to have that. So they kind of let me do my thing. And we were able to just take off, and people found out about it. And we got a lot of new members. So that's why going forward, we're definitely going to have to be hybrid, because we have members from way outside of our local area that we're going to have to keep them, happily keep them involved as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know where technology is going to take us. I'm petrified of AI for whatever reason.
Well, it's because we've all seen Terminator. I mean, come on.
You see the kids today, and they're just this, and it's hard to get this from them. So I worry about that.
You actually started answering a question. Now, this is a video podcast, obviously, but there are going to be a lot of people that listen to this like they would radio, right? So the hand signals aren't going to work. So I'm going to ask you a question and try to explain it with words and not hand symbols. So the question is this. You started saying it. How do you feel the pandemic is shaping how we meet and we socialize, as well as children meet and children socialize? How do you think that's changed?
Well, from what I hear, this was interesting. We did 2 live events. We had one in December where we had a luncheon. We had more people come to that, and that was the first that we've done in a year and a half outside of a golf outing. We had over 70 people. For us, that's huge. And everybody was so excited to be there. Everybody was happy, happy, happy. Then we had a smaller breakfast meeting. And you know what? We got 9 people. And everybody was saying, I thought it was going to be so great to get up and go someplace. I'd rather be at home. So,
Wow.
I don't know. I'm just kind of playing it as it comes and just see where it develops. But the world has changed. This pandemic has put us from 2020 to maybe 2030. I don't know. But we're a changed society.
Okay.
I think we're a very changed society. Kids, I pray for them,
And why do you say that, Judy? What do you think the pandemic has? How do you feel it's impacted children and their social skills? And that's what I'm getting at. So how do you feel that's changed them?
Well, I guess, most of our grandkids are older, but we have one that's still a young teenager. And I see what happened to her. And she is she's an only child. So during the pandemic, she happens to be a really smart girl, did terrible in school. Well, she just got her report card yesterday, and her lowest mark was a 95.
Wow.
So, I think that to me tells a story. When I would talk to her and say, how's it going? How's she said, Mom, I can't concentrate. I can't concentrate online like that. So I think that she is typical of a lot of students. And I've heard that from a lot of parents, that these kids that are really smart kids, they just tumbled. They tumbled. But now, there's so much pressure on these kids today with this social media that you can't get away from it, and the bullying. I mean, this is real stuff. This is just not stuff you hear about. This is real. And I've seen the results of a lot of it with a lot of parents that I know and my own family, and it's tough stuff. So I don't know how it's going to evolve. I just can't even imagine. What do you think? How do you see it? You're much closer to it.
So, Brandon, I'm going to let you start because you have 2 daughters. So I'll let you go with that one.
I mean,
How
we're
old?
3 and 5.
Okay.
But we were in a unique situation where we live in a small farming community, so we weren't in a traditional daycare with the girls. They were in in-home daycare. So through the whole pandemic, that daycare was still open 5 days a week. So the girls never really lost that social interaction through any of it.
Fabulous.
Which is huge. And my daughter just started kindergarten this year, so school was back full time. She doesn't understand remote learning at all or any of that. So I feel like we lucked out with it. Whereas my cousin, who lives in St. Catharines, which is just on the other side of the border, Ontario has been doing things a little weird where, like, they just kept shutting down school, opening school, shutting down school, opening school. And it was just a nightmare. The kids didn't know what way was up, what way was down. Like, one week they're at school, the next week they're at home. They don't know what is going on. My cousin's stuck here trying to teach, and her joke is, I quit teaching school for a reason. I don't want to teach my kids. She grew up in the States, so she went, basically her whole schooling was in New York, and she spent 2 years in high school in Canada. So she didn't learn French or anything, and her trying to teach her oldest daughter French was like a nightmare. And in Canada, it's French Canadian, not French. So when she would try to do like Google Translate, stuff like that, does not work because that's French, not French Canadian. And I just saw the pitfalls and her ripping her hair out going through all this. And the one benefit that they have, her husband's family has a big farm. So the kids were out all the time. They were still getting out there. They were still doing activities. They weren't just stuck in the house all day long. Whereas our in-home daycare, her 2 kids, they were stuck at home all day long. Like, we would drop the girls off, and her son's there not wanting to get on his laptop to do the work, and her having to fight with him to try to get him to do it. And
Right.
now that my daughter's in kindergarten, she loves it. She's so excited to go to school. It's the coolest thing ever. Like, I'm ready to go. Let's go learn, yada, yada, yada. She's
That's
so excited.
great.
So I'm glad we just missed out on all that, and our timing was spot on, because I feel really bad for the headaches that my cousin had to go through with all this. And I mean, it's a lot different up there because things kept changing like on a dime. It was ridiculous up there with how things were changing. And I mean, they were still out of school up until a month or two ago. They were still in and out, in and out, in and out. There was just no consistency for them. And yeah, I
Tough
don't
stuff.
I don't know where things are going to go. And to come back to the whole meeting and with Zoom and everything, what I see is I think you're going to have a more hybrid environment at the
Right.
end of the day. We just set up a high definition webcam that you can do like a whole boardroom with it for my auto dealers association. They have already done their one meeting that's hybrid, and I walked in the next day. They go, that worked perfectly, and now we know 2 of our board members will never be in this building ever again. It doesn't matter if they're in Florida or around the corner; they're never coming in this building
That's
ever
it.
again.
Yep. Yeah, it's a changed world.
Yeah,
You know, you think of the businesses, you think about these commercial buildings that are all over our center city, Ray,
Yep.
and you know all the businesses that support people coming in, the lunch place. I mean, what's going to happen? How is that going to affect the economy? You know, that's the things I think about on that side, and you know, the airlines,
yeah.
because God knows nobody's traveling. The business travel, I think travel for entertainment is high, but travel for business is just, there's nothing there anymore.
Yeah, no, business travel's gone. I forgot what the number was, but it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month that Adobe is saving by not having their people fly and just do Zoom meetings now. And when it comes to the real estate, that was one thing that I questioned when this all happened, because Paychex, who's a big payroll company,
Sure.
they're headquartered in Rochester. They
Oh.
own like 8 billion buildings in Rochester, specifically one town. They probably own half the town. And when the stay-at-home order happened, it was a 15,000 person exodus out of Rochester back to their homes. And you would drive by and like nobody's in the parking lot, nothing's getting done. That one town has a lot of chain restaurants, a lot of mom and pop restaurants, and no one's there because everybody's at home. And it was 2 years then. I'm just thinking to myself, Paychex is holding the lease on all these places, and a lot of them are buildings that they recently bought and recently renovated. And I just thought to myself, are they going to come back to this or not? Like, what's going to happen? And they brought everybody back, but now I'm starting to see a push of wanting to go back to the office. Like, my sister-in-law works for Paychex, and she's more productive at home than she is at the office because she doesn't have people poking at her and saying, da 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 da, let's talk, let's hang out, let's do this.
That's it.
I mean, she's a trainer, so she needs to interact with her trainee constantly, and she does it all web-based because Paychex is a national company at the end of the day. But when she's in the office, there's just so many distractions, whereas when she's at at home, no distractions. Her kids are older. 3 of her daughters are in college, and then she has a son that's a senior. So she doesn't have those distractions when she's at home, and she's trying to make the case of going back to work from home.
She's not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. A prime example is the medical supply store that we share our building with. They were always work in the office, work in the office, work in the office. And there was one person that he made the exception for, was his biller, and it was just unexpected circumstances 12 years ago when we moved in this building. Not going to get into it, but when the pandemic hit, he sent his like non-customer facing staff home. Customer facing staff stayed in the office, and now it's more of a hybrid model to where some of his non-customer facing staff can kind of move back and forth from home to working at the office, which works well for them because there are a lot of young women that are now just having kids. So rather than run what they joke as the West Side daycare, they're able to kind of jostle between work and home and try to get a balance between work life and home life, which has been very beneficial for them.
Yeah. What do you think, Ray?
I think you guys kind of hit the points. Very quickly, my biggest concern for, kids in school that were hybrid, or I'm sorry, or kids that were virtual learners, I'm real concerned they're going to miss very important socialization skills.
Me too.
I'm happy that they're back in school now, and I'm happy they're getting those socialization skills that are really important. I think, from adult standpoint, I think we need that social interaction. Like, people are just, we crave it, right? As human beings, we crave it. There's rare few people that want to be completely alone, but those people, the majority of the world, want to spend time with others. And the last couple years, putting people in their homes and not allowing them to leave has definitely impacted the way they are, who they are, and how they choose to interact with people. I love that I can have meetings like this on Zoom for the things that I don't have to travel to. I think they make
Right.
things convenient. I absolutely love that a lot of the stigma of some of my previous bosses that I don't work for anymore, the whole mentality of, if you're not at your desk, you're not working. Like, we've proven that is wrong. And I think that's great. And anybody that believes that if you have a desk job, that you have to be in the office, that you are a fool if you believe that. Some people may choose to be at a desk with other people, but the reality of it is we have technology for a reason. You can work from anywhere in the world, assuming you have a desk type job. Obviously, physical job, laborers, warehouse construction, you got to be on site. You're not building a building remotely yet. But, at the end of the day, I think there's give and take. I like some of the things that it's done, and I don't like some of the things that it's
Right.
done.
I think that's where I am too. I'm sure that's where most of the world is.
Yep. I think people have gotten to that opinion now. Now, a year ago, if I would ask somebody that question, I don't think I would have gotten the same answer. I think a year ago, I think there was a ton of Zoom fatigue. I think there was, oh crap, another Zoom meeting. Kids were having a real hard time in school paying attention.
Yeah.
I think once you added that socialization back and put people in a place where they could socialize again, I think it broke that up a little bit. So,
And
last
now,
question.
Given the option,
Go ahead,
they
Judy.
almost select Zoom. It's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, from a business standpoint, if you're not choosing Zoom, you're a fool. I mean, how much money are you saving on airplane travel by not flying a guy across the country to literally just shake a hand?
Right.
Now, don't get me wrong. I said it earlier. There is a huge value into staring somebody dead in their eyes and having that conversation, shaking their hand, taking them out to dinner, getting to know them as people. That is huge. That is important for building a good long-term relationship. I don't deny that. But most of these Zoom calls that I have, I'm really happy they're Zoom calls, because if I would have had to leave the house, I'd have been real angry. So,
Wow.
especially when there's a mug, my friend Trish, who we interviewed a couple weeks ago, she has. It's a meme. This meeting could have been an email, and I am huge on that. Today I was on a half-hour conference call for something that could have been an email, and that I strive on efficiency. And if you make me sit through a half-hour meeting for something you could have said, Ray, do this, I lose it. So, but we got one more question. I know this has been a pretty long one. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you're traveling tomorrow. So, what advice would you give to your younger self?
It's all going to be okay. It's just give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. Trust that there's a great expression, if I could think about it. Something about when you leap. Do you know the expression?
No.
When you leap, something will be there to catch you. So don't be afraid. Just try things. Just be good to yourself. Be kind to one another, and have faith in who you are. I guess that's what I would say. And then the fun one that I saw recently was always remember. Oh, and I can't remember it. that if, that if you're that if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu.
Okay. I like that. That's pretty good.
That's a good one, right?
I like that one. That's
If you
pretty
don't have a
good.
seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. So
I like that
always
one.
try to get a seat at the table.
And very final question, but it is very similar to the one I just asked you. What advice would you give to young women and young entrepreneurs that want to do some of the amazing things that you've done?
Wow. I wasn't prepared for this, but I guess it's
Got him.
Yeah, you
Win.
got me. You got me good there. I don't know if it's any different. If it's anything different than I would have told myself if I thought about it, go for it. Just go for it. The only mistake you're going to make is regretting not doing something. So don't live with regrets. Just give yourself a chance to fly, because you probably will. You probably
awesome.
will.
That's powerful. So with all that being said, Judy, thank you so much. Honestly, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Hour. And I know our community at Tech Knowledge will greatly appreciate this. I know our chamber will appreciate this. So I'll make sure you get a copy of all this to
Our
share.
chambers will see this. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
I hope I didn't embarrass anybody. If I did, I'm
No.
sorry, members. I'm sorry. I love you.
No, not at all, Judy. You are the best of us. You definitely represent us in the best possible way. But Brandon, my friend, anything else?
Where can people learn more about you, Judy, and the great things you guys are doing over at the chamber?
You have Ray. Or www.BucksMontChamber.com. And that's BUCKS montchamber.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for getting on here tonight with us. It was great.
Thank you, guys. It was really an honor. I'm honored that you thought enough of me to ask. So thank you.
No, thank you. Ray, where can people find out more about you and all things Libertas and Tech Knowledge?
In a corner napping. I say it every time. But that's about where you'll find me these days. You can find me at libertasllc.net or on most social platforms at either Libertas Ray or Libertas LLC.
Awesome. You can find the Tech Knowledge community at Techknowledge WW on Instagram. If you want to join our Slack community, you can send an email to slack@techknowledgeww.org. Send a quick email there, and we'll send you an invite to our Slack community. That's where basically all the happenings in the Tech Knowledge community are happening. We do also have Facebook, Tech Knowledge Worldwide on Facebook. We're starting to grow out that community too. Lots of big things happening for us. We're going to be hopefully spinning up our vendor engagement soon. We do have, just like the chamber has, we have our bi-weekly Friday phone calls where we do a check-in with the community, and really excited to see how those things are growing. Last week was our biggest phone call yet, and very similar to what they're doing in the chamber here, where we all just check in with each other, see how everybody's going, see what struggles we have throughout the week before, see how we can help each other out. It's great. I love it. And you guys can find me on Instagram at tsc.it or on the web at tscit.co. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate everything we've done, everything we can do together in the future.
That was good. Use that one going forward, Brandon. I like that one. Let's keep that one.
Perfect. Well, thanks, guys. Have a good night. Thank you so much for getting on.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Go Nova.
Go Nova.